Hi, my name is Tyler Dean, and this is our presentation on Rush Hour. This is Zoe Crump, Lauren Jonda, Derek Rodriguez, Caden Wells, and Tyler Dean. Rush Hour, which was made in 1998, showcases an involving interpersonal relationship. This is between Detective James Carter from the LAPD and Yang Nang Lee from Hong Kong Police. These unwilling and mismatched detectives are forced to work a high-profile case together. Now, throughout the beginning of their relationship, there was a lot of differences. We see cultural barriers, language barriers, and personal differences that challenge their partnership. Their interactions total illustrate different communication theories, such as the attribution theory, face negotiation, and the social penetration. Throughout their journey, Lee and Carter struggle with the language barrier and cultural differences. Carter assumes Lee doesn't speak English and treats him arrogantly. He treats him mean, he's joking around, he thinks he's an incompetent foreigner. And on the other side, Lee remains silent, reinforcing Carter's assumption of his character. Over time, they adjust their perceptions through effective communication and shared challenges. This demonstrates how communication can bridge cultural gaps and build relationships. Here are the three theories that are seen throughout the movie, which we will discuss in further detail throughout this presentations. One of the key theories that is demonstrated by their relationship is the attribution theory. This theory explains how people interpret the behavior of those around them and attribute causes to those behaviors. This occurs internally or through external factors, and the internally is based on assumptions of personality traits. Initially, both of them have somewhat of a negative assumption about each other. Lee sees Carter as a loud and unprofessional police officer, and Carter sees Lee as an incompetent foreigner due to their lack of communication and their misunderstandings. However, as they spend more time together, they learn more about each other's skills and abilities and learn to appreciate each other in a larger way. This transformation occurs throughout their journey as they encounter different challenges and demonstrates how the change in perspective and the context surrounding those affects our opinions on those around us. Another theory that helps us provide understanding of Lee and Carter's relationship is the social penetration theory. This theory explains how the gradual self-disclosure of information deepens relationship. Early on in the movie, their understanding of each other is very shallow. They know each other on a surface level, and they don't trust each other. But as they face challenges and then they share information, they learn to trust each other and then actually become very close friends. And now this theory demonstrates how relationships grow over time through shared experiences. Then lastly, the face negotiation theory explains how identity and cultural background shape communication. Um, Lee and Carter's interactions reflect different cultural expectations. Within each of their own perceptions, they're also trying to keep in mind their own culture and the expectations of those of what it means, what's acceptable to them and what's acceptable of other people. And throughout this process in this movie, they adapt and learn to communicate despite their initial misunderstandings. As a result, their mutual respect grows as they understand each other's cultures more. Overall, Rush Hour provides a great example of how interpersonal communication um, can close cultural and personal boundaries or differences. Their journey as unwilling coworkers to close friends shows the power of communications. And throughout the rest of this analysis, we will explore these theories in greater detail, providing examples from the movie to demonstrate their importance. Thank you.
All right, my part of the project deals with face negotiation theory, a framework for understanding how cultural differences influence communication, particularly during conflict. A core concept is face, which refers to our self-image and how we want to be perceived by others. This is deeply tied to our cultural background. The theory primarily categorizes cultures as either individualistic or collectivist. Individualistic cultures, like that of the United States, emphasize personal achievement, independence, and direct communication. Collectivist cultures, such as Hong Kong's, prioritize group harmony, interdependence, and indirect communication. These cultural orientations significantly impact what it means to save face in an individualistic context. Saving face might involve asserting oneself and maintaining control. In a collectivist culture or a collectivist context, it often means to avoid direct confrontation and preserving group harmony. Another key aspect of face negotiations theory is the distinction between high context and low context communication. Low context cultures rely heavily on explicit verbal communication. Meaning is conveyed primarily through words, while high context cultures place greater emphasis on nonverbal cues, shared understanding, and the overall situation. Much of the meaning is implied rather than directly stated. These differences become particularly apparent during conflict. Individuals from individualistic cultures tend to adopt a dominating conflict style. They are more likely to be direct, assertive, and focused on achieving their personal goals, while conversely, individuals from collectivist cultures often favor an avoiding style. They prioritize maintaining relationships and avoiding direct confrontation, often choosing to withdraw or de escalate the situation. The film Rush Hour provides a practical illustration of these concepts. The characters, Carter and Lee, from the US and Hong Kong respectively, embody these contrasting cultural approaches. In their initial meeting at the airport, Carter's loud and direct communication and exaggerated gestures exemplify a low context approach. He assumes that Lee doesn't understand English and relies heavily on verbal commands. Lee, operating within a high context framework, remains quiet and observant, picking up on subtle cues. Later, when Lee attempts to reach the Chinese consulate and Carter tries to prevent him, their conflict styles clash. Carter is direct and confrontational, even drawing his weapon and showcasing a dominant approach typical of individualistic cultures. Lee, in contrast, tries to evade Carter, avoiding direct engagement, which reflects the conflict avoidant tendencies of collectivist cultures. He does not attempt to escalate, but instead to avoid. Carter also has a separate agenda during the scene, so while he's dealing with Lee, he's also dealing with his own problems. Um, these interactions highlight how different cultural understandings of face and preferred communications.
Howdy, my name is Derek Rodriguez, and this is the attribution theory for our group project. The attribution theory's definition is how individuals relate and make sense of the world, and how people translate events around them, and how the translations affect their perspectives. And the movie we were talking about is Rush Hour. So at the beginning of Rush Hour, both Carter and Lee allowed both their internal attributions of one another control their perspectives of each other. This caused each of them to paint one another in a negative light. So at the beginning, when Carter and Lee meet, Carter allows his external attributions immediately define Lee, thinking that he can't speak English. And because of this, and because of the fact that their first meeting, Lee kept getting away from him, wasn't listening to his instructions, and tried running away, immediately painted him in a bad light, showing that oh, he doesn't care about his job, he's just there to mess around. Meanwhile, in Lee's external attribution perspective, he sees Carter as this self-righteous, prideful cop that doesn't know what he's doing. He's just doing it just 'cause, and he has no real intent to help Lee. So that is why he runs away and decides to try and get away from Carter, as he sees Carter as a waste of time, as uh, time is of the essence for Lee. Um, and moving on to the climax of the movie, the climax is attribution. The climax of the movie allows both Lee and Carter a chance to reevaluate their attribution of one another by allowing one another to open up about their past and by working together to fight crime. In addition to this, since they both have a new understanding of each other, they now use more of their internal attributions to define one another since they have a new understanding of each other. This being said, in the middle of the movie, when Lee and Carter have chances to see one another's personality, to 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 fight crime together, and to also get in trouble together. This allows them to see one another in different lights and from different perspectives, allowing their attribution to change from their internal and their external. From their externals being from seeing Lee and seeing Lee seeing Carter and Carter seeing Lee fight, and then they fight together. They fight the boss from the movie together. They fight their goons together, and this allows them to gain one another's trust, and this allows their internal attributions to change one another, saying, "Oh, Lee's actually pretty good at fighting. Oh, Carter had my back," and so on. So, and this helps their friendship and their co-working abilities to improve and grow into a friendship with one another. Um, Even though they did get in trouble and they almost uh, were both dismissed due to Carter and Lee now having this new understanding of one another. They knew that they're both good cops and they knew what they were doing, and they knew that even though what their boss saw was wrong, they knew was correct. So after some bonding and after some opening up with one another about their past and why they're police, their internal attributions of one another completely changes. And this leads to the endings attribution when Carter and Lee become good friends. This is when they are able to take down the the bosses, and they now that they understand each other, they no longer rely on one attribution to define the character of the other person. Excuse me. Instead, since they now know one another, they allow their internal attribution to define the other character more, since they know who they truly are as a person. And on this next slide, I have some images from the movie. At the beginning, as you can see on the far left, when Carter and Lee were, were at each other's throats, and the top scene was when Lee was trying to get away, and when they also were at gunpoint at the beginning of the movie. And in the middle, we have when Carter and Lee were able to fight some of the goons from boss, from the boss's goons, and they were able to have each other's backs even in the middle of danger and life-threatening situations. And on the far right, on the top image, we have at the ending of the boss fight when Lee, so when Carter caught Lee in a long ribbon from a long fall, and it took Lee a lot of courage and trust in Carter to be able to pull this off, showing that they now fully trust one another through the external attributions that they had and with the situations that they had that changed their external attributions, which in the end ended up changing their internal attributions to one another and allowing them to become good friends. Thank you.
I'll be talking about the social penetration theory, which is defined as a theory that predicts that as a relationship develops, communication increases in breadth and depth, and that came from the textbook. And this theory is really exemplified in Lee and Carter's relationship because they start off by not knowing each other at all, and then by the end of the movie, they're best friends. So, in video one, this is Lee and Carter's first interaction. Carter makes an assumption right off the bat about Lee, and this causes their relationship to start out really slow. The assumption that Carter made was off of Lee's appearance and the fact that he spoke Chinese to the flight attendant, that Lee wouldn't speak English and wouldn't understand him. And this really irritates Carter, and the fact that he already didn't want a partner, and then now his partner doesn't even speak English to him. Um, this just really makes him mad and causes their relationship to start out really slow because from this first interaction, Lee gets, I don't know about upset, but um, his reaction to Carter is to pretend not to know or speak English also. So for 6 minutes and 30 seconds of the movie, Carter doesn't actually know that Lee speaks and understands English. So this obviously causes a really slow start to their relationship. In video two, Lee and Carter have developed a relationship where they can trust each other and they try and protect each other. The whole movie is about Lee and Carter working together to find a kidnapper who kidnapped a little girl. And in this scene, Carter has been in the presence of this kidnapper and they're about to try to kill him because he's annoying them and they just don't really understand. And then Lee comes to his rescue and it's just you can see in the scene that they have developed a relationship and then throughout the scene as they're fighting these bad guys you can or Carter throws a gun to Lee to protect himself. And so, like, you can see that they're to the point of their relationship where they trust each other and they're really trying to protect each other and keep each other alive. And then in video three, Lee and Carter have completely developed a relationship and have a deep connection as they are headed to Lee's home city on vacation. This really just shows you that the way that they I guess, socially penetrated and revealed things about themselves. They really have developed a great friendship, and I mean, throughout the whole movie, as they're developing their relationship and trying to find the bad guy, as soon as they have completed all of the tasks, they really do have a really good friendship, and this is shown because right after all of this had just occurred they want to go on vacation together. So they really like each other's presence and have created a really good bonding friendship. I will show you the clips now.
You hear that? I think it's not right.
I cannot believe this shit. First I get a bullshit assignment, now Mr. Rice-A-Roni don't even speak American. Come on, man, my ride over here. Put your bag in the back. Put your bag in the back. No. You put your own shit in the back. I'm not a sky cap. I'm FBI, you understand? The hell you think this is?
So again, this just really shows their or Carter's kind of resentment towards Lee in the first moments of their interaction together. And then
Oh, hell no. I thought he just playing, man. He playing, he mean that. He meant cut me loose and let me go.
动怒！LAPD。Behind you! Cutter!
Freeze! We kick y'all ass. All y'all! Y'all got y'all.
And this proved that they had developed a relationship and they wanted to protect each other as, again, Carter threw the gun to Lee to try to save himself. And then lastly,
First class. I like this. This is tight. I like this.
Can I take your jacket?